Good morning and welcome to Norcal APEX Accelerator's National Veteran Small Business Week training series in partnership with Norcal VPOC and joined today by the California Department of General Services, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. My name is Amanda Anderson. I'm the program coordinator for Norcal APEX Accelerator. And today we're joined by Joshua Hope, the Business Outreach Liaison for the California DGS OSDS, as well as Paul Tavernia, a business consultant for Norcal VBOC, the Veterans Business Outreach Center. And I'm going to actually pass it off to Paul to tell you a little bit more about Norcal VBOC and how they can help your business be successful.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Appreciate that. As Amanda said, yes, my name is Paul Tavernia. I'm one of the counselors, consultants, if you will, with the Northern Cal Veterans Business Outreach Center. And over the next couple of minutes, I just wanted to give you an idea of what the VBOC is all about, the services we provide, some of the education we provide, and that sort of thing. So next slide, please. Yes. So we're located in Sacramento, but we actually, I think on one of the slides, you'll see that we cover about 3/4 of the state of California. Next slide, please. So our mission, we are all about veterans and active duty service members. We are a nonprofit under the Cal Poly Sponsored Programs Foundation umbrella of nonprofit entities. We are one of 28 VBOCs around the country. I think I've got some information on that, but we receive funding in part by the Small Business Administration as well as the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development here in California. So we are focused on helping active duty service members and veterans with, if they're looking to maybe get into entrepreneurship or maybe have an existing business and want to take it to another level. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we are one of several collaborative partners here in the Northern California geography. So we work very closely with the small business development centers, the SCORE chapters, the APEX accelerators, as well as the women's business centers here in Northern California. So we all, as I like to say, play in the same sandbox together. And we provide collaborative resources and referrals back and forth all the time. So our services are provided at no cost to you. It's your tax dollars at work. And that's typical of most resource partners that are funded in part by the SBA. We are, as I mentioned, one of 28 VBOCs around the country. And depending upon where you are, there is a Veterans Business Outreach Center that covers your geography. Here in California, we've got two, one in Southern California, one here in Northern California. But you'll find like in the Midwest, there may be a VBOC that actually covers multiple states. So depending upon where you're located or where you may end up, there's a Veterans Business Outreach Center there for to support you as a veteran or even as an active service member. We launched this version of the VBOC in 2021. The VBOC organization in Northern California has been around for a long time. And in fact, when I was at the SBA, during my 15 years there in the district office here in Sacramento, I worked very closely with the VBOC at that point in time as well. And as I mentioned, every VBOC has its own unique footprint. So next slide, please. Don't know why the video timed out there. But anyway, so here's our footprint. We basically go from the Grapevine all the way up to the Oregon border. So we cover, 3/4 of the state, if you will. And you can see the military bases that we serve. In fact, I was down yesterday at Naval Air Station Lemoore teaching the first day of one of the classes that we teach on base, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so every Veterans Business Outreach Center is responsible for the military installations, if you will, in their geography, as delivering the curriculum, if you will, that the SBA has put together. Next slide, please. So what do we do? Well, certainly one-on-one consulting, mentorship is a large part of what we do. We can help with, helping with pre-planning your business plan, if you will, or upfront discussions prior to even formulating your business plan. Kind of discussions relative to feasibility. We can talk about market analysis, competitive analysis, those kind of things. We do in-person and online training, and I'll talk about that in a second. And a lot of what we do, because we, excuse me, have such a large footprint, and we are a small but mighty organization, is we point our clients to collaborative resources along the lines of the ones that I just mentioned. They may have a little bit more bandwidth or a little bit more depth of service, depending upon what it is specifically that our clients are looking for. And then other business development services as kind of on an as needed basis. Next slide, please. So in terms of education, these are classes, if you will, or workshops that we offer on an ongoing basis. So I teach 2 flavors of workshops, contracting focused workshops. One that's kind of an introduction to state and federal contracting. And then I also have a second workshop that is for a little bit deeper dive, if you will, into state and federal certifications. And in fact, on November 14th, I'll be conducting that specific webinar. So norcalvbach.org is our website, and I think we've got that on the last slide. But if you go to our web portal, you go under workshops and events, and you can see our calendar of upcoming classes and workshops. We teach a business plans and actions class, which kind of helps you get jump started in looking at all the different components that go into a complete business plan. We've started the Veteran Grown series focused on the agricultural industry for veterans that may want to get into the ag business, which is obviously very prevalent here in Northern California and throughout California. We teach 2 flavors of marketing classes. Marketing fundamentals is kind of an intro class, and then we have a deeper dive with our marketing essentials class. We have an e-commerce workshop for veterans and their families, and it can be particularly of interest with spouses. And along those lines, we also now have a Mil-Spouse Pathway to Business program, which is just launching. So if you're a veteran or a military spouse, take a look at that as maybe a way to get started in business on your own type of thing. And then the Boots to Business and Reboot, we teach as well. And that's really what the SBA pays us primarily to do. That's our primary mission. So next slide, please. Now, what we've got also, though, is we're actually growing. We're bringing on a couple of new folks into our onto our staff. Right now, we basically have 2 counselors, myself and Pete Estrada down in Fresno, but we're going to be bringing on a couple of additional folks to help more on the financing side of things. They come with a very real strong background in financial assistance. So when you start thinking about trying to create financial projections as part of your business plan, as well as maybe putting the components of a bank-ready package if you happen to go looking for some external financing. So we'll be able to provide some more in-depth financial assistance. We have Live Plan, which is a business planning template that we have access to at no cost, and we can make it available to our clients for up to 6 months at no cost. Normally, it's a fee-for-service type of offering to help you flesh out a business plan if you're in the embryonic stages of business startup or business development. And then we also have access to IBIS World for additional financial assistance. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, Boots to Business and Boots to Business Reboot is our primary mission. And it's focused, the Boots to Business curriculum is focused on base. It's typically a 2-day curriculum, and it's open to and targeted towards members of the military that are looking to transition out and are maybe exploring entrepreneurship as potentially their next career move. And so I teach the classes here at Travis Air Force Base and Beale Air Force Base up here in Northern California, and then My colleague Pete teaches at Naval Air Station Lemoore and Monterey and China Lake. But that's our main mission. And then what we've also developed in conjunction with that is the Boots to Business Reboot program, which is basically a distillation of the 2-day curriculum into a 1-day online event, online offering. So, and that is geared towards primarily for folks that have already transitioned out of the military and their military connected family members. And it's all about exploring entrepreneurship as a potential career move. And on the right-hand side there, you can see the different aspects of the different modules that are inclusive in the Boots to Business curriculum. Next slide, please. So net message is, if you're a veteran or even in the active military today, all of the skills and attributes and discipline and that you have learned as a result of being in the military translate very well into entrepreneurship. So I would invite you to consider that and take advantage of all of the resources available to you, whether it's the Veterans Business Outreach Center, the Small Business Development Centers, the Apex Accelerators, whatever the case may be. The net message is there's a lot of folks out there to help you, and there's more often than not, and to a large degree, their services and our services are offered at no cost to you. It's your tax dollars at work. Okay, next slide, please. So there you can see our web portal, norcalvboc.org, and the QR code there. So you can go in there to request some one-on-one consulting if that's something that you're interested in, as well as gain access to our calendar of events of all our upcoming workshops. And we'd love to help you out any way we can. So with that, I'll turn it back to Amanda.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul, for not only being here. I know it's been a busy week, but for that awesome information. These no-cost resources are absolutely something you and your business should be taking advantage of. And as a note, I did drop the upcoming workshops for VBOC, a link to that in the chat. So if you are interested, go ahead and check them out. I know they have quite a few events coming up this month.
All the time.
And before we get into the real meat and potatoes of this presentation, I want to briefly let you know a little bit about APEX Accelerator, another no-cost resource for government contracting that you can go ahead and take advantage of. The APEX Accelerator program is a nationwide network. We have about 96 centers nationwide that are funded through government grants to help you and your business with government contracting, from your first SAM registration or Cal eProcure registration to submitting your proposals and even contract compliance after you win your first one. That's where APEX Accelerator really focuses in on our expertise in government contracting, because it can be quite complicated. But we're here to help, whether you're in California, in Northern California, or all the way over in Florida, Georgia, New York. There's an APEX Accelerator that can help you. As for Norcal APEX Accelerator, we offer all of our services to the Northern California coastal counties. We have about 15 counties under our service, and we offer assistance in 3 main forms. Our one-on-one counseling, where when you sign up to be a client, you can get connected with a procurement counselor, an expert in procurement topics, both state, local, and federal. And you can sit down with them one-on-one over Zoom or in our Cal Poly Humboldt office and work on the specific hurdles and challenges that you've been experiencing with government contracting. Our counselors can help you not only work through them, but work beyond them and start to expand and move along towards those contracting goals. Another service that we offer is our custom bid matching program. This is where we pay for a software that we offer to our clients at no cost to send relevant and timely solicitations directly to your inbox based on criteria that you decided with your procurement counselor. So whether that be specified by the industry that you're in, so the products or services that you sell, or whether it's the location that you want to perform the work. This custom bid matching program will send opportunities directly to your email, which can take a lot of the legwork out of government contracting. Not all of it, though. There's a lot of legwork. And our third assistance service is resources and training, which you're actually taking advantage of right now. These webinars and all of the webinars we do throughout the year are provided at absolutely no cost to anybody who wants to join, whether you're in New York or just down the street from our local office. As well as our trainings and webinars, we have a very robust website of contracting resources at all levels, from federal and state certifications to local certifications and vendor portal links. So whether you're in our service area and want to become a client, or maybe out of our service area and want to take advantage of our training and resources, we are absolutely here to help you however we can with government contracting. And before I pass it over to Joshua, I do want to read a bit of a disclosure because we do record these events. The information provided herein is accurate to the best of the presenter's ability at the time of this presentation. Some or all of the provisions mentioned herein could or may be changed by the current administration, with or without prior notice. And with that, I'd love to pass it over to Joshua Hoke from DGS.
Amanda, thank you so much. As mentioned, hi, my name is Joshua Hauk. I'm a business outreach liaison with the Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services, which is a mouthful, so we often call it OSDS, within the Department of General Services for the state of California. Now, before we get started, I want you to take a moment. I want you to jot down my contact information on whatever preferred medium that you use, whether it's inputting it into your phone, whether it's writing it down on a, via pen and paper, whether or not it's taking a picture of this. It's also in the chat as well. I just saw it dropped there. If you've got questions during the presentation, I'm going to do my best, time permitting, to address them in the Q&A segments. But if you've got questions outside of this presentation, you now have a point of contact to reach out to. So I'll either get you the information that you're looking for, or I'm going to point you in the right direction of someone who can. I also do want to take a moment and thank Norcal APEX for working with us, for bringing in VBOC, and giving us the opportunity to speak with you today. We love working with these organizations. They are great resources for the community, so we really appreciate the opportunity. All right, next slide. Okay, so today we're going to be going over DGS's Level 2 webinar of I'm Certified, Now What? It's the second in a three-part series, and if you've had the chance to attend our Level 1 webinar, How to Do Business with the State of California, that's fantastic. But I do want to note there may be some overlap in presentation material. We do provide a bit more of a focused drill down on procurement concepts and things to add to your profile in this one, so hang with us. I'm also hoping that most of our audience is already registered in Cali Procure, but for those of you who haven't seen the first webinar or registered your business in Cali Procure, that's okay, because we're going to dive into some of the more detailed parts of the procurement process and profile materials. If you find something you don't fully understand, I encourage you to take notes, attend a Level 1 webinar, or watch one of the recent recordings out there, and see if the combined knowledge doesn't provide you an answer to any questions that you might have. And if you're still stumped, you can ask general questions at the email businessoutreach@dgs.ca.gov, or reach out to us personally, and we're very happy to help. And I know that email is also going to be put in the chat as well, too. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get to it. Next slide, please. All right. So today we're going to be talking about Cali Procure profiles, some of the ways that buyers and departments find you, like keywords and United Nations Standards Products and Services Codes, or what we call UNSPSCs. We're going to go over contract opportunities, searching, defining scope, and notifications that come to you. We're going to talk about market research tools, like how to research past purchases. We're going to talk about advocates and how they're an amazing resource for you as well as their departments. And since it's not just about us, we're going to talk about reciprocity partners and the advantages they provide. We'll be going over emergency contracting, and last but not least, we're going to be talking about commercially useful function, or CUF. Now, there are breaks in between these topics for questions and answers, so if you've got questions on the material I'm covering, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A. I'm going to try and focus my answers around the Q&A slides, but I think Amanda might be answering them also in the background as well. For the sake of time, I am going to ask you to limit questions to the materials on the slides that we've covered, as your questions for other things might be answered in future slides. And if not, we've got this big Q&A segment at the end, as well as other ways for you to reach out one-on-one. So we got you covered. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. All right, Amanda, I know you're on top of this right now. We are looking to drop a poll into the presentation here. We're kind of looking to get a concept of who is registered in CaliProcure. At this point in our presentations, we're hopeful that you're familiar with CaliProcure, and that's the state's central procurement website where businesses need to get registered to bid on state contracts and where businesses hopefully get certified. To get an idea of how our audience is looking and what they've done, we've dropped that poll. But no matter where you're at this journey, when working in CaliProcure, we like to start with this general advice on profiles because it's often the most impactful advice that we can give, and that is to keep your profiles active. I want you to think about something. When you Google a business out there, right, and you take the time to see what that business does, even visit that business, how would you feel if the information that the business listed wasn't correct? I'm betting that you might feel frustrated. So CaliProcure is the website where state departments and procurement officials search to see what you can do. For buying goods and services, it's our Google. So it's critical that the information that you list in CaliProcure is accurate. When buyers and prime contractors can easily find you, know what products and services you provide, it's a win-win for both you and the state. So just take a second, double check all the information listed on this slide is prepped and accurate. And if not, go ahead and take some time to update. I think we're going to take a moment and close out that poll. So I'm going to give like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Amanda, how are we looking? How many folks are registered in CaliProcure, about percentage-wise?
Yeah, I'd say just under 50%. So we're about half and half.
No, that's fantastic. Okay, so there's a lot of material that you guys are going to get from this. And I know we're going to have some stuff that's focused on folks that are registered, but it's also important to take note of this if you haven't registered, because there are so many tools, tricks, things that you'll see here that you're going to want to take notes on. So thank you so much for providing that information. It lets me know who I'm talking to, you know? All right, and those last 2 points, keywords and UNSPSCs, they're the key to keeping your profile robust. So let's go into some details on how you can best utilize those tools. Next slide, please. All right, so short story. Keywords and UNSPSCs, they describe goods and services. But more importantly, these are critical aspects of how state government buyers find you. They are used to determine what notifications CaliProcure should send to you. And the best part is you get to determine what keywords and UNSPSCs are associated with your profile. You add them when you initially register in CaliProcure. So for those of you who haven't registered in CaliProcure, you know when this is going to come up. You'll see those in your bidder profile. And you get a chance, if you have a profile, to add them when you get certified in your certification profile. So the big point is you've got all the power with this. But for all my Spider-Man people out there, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. So let's take a deeper dive into each of these so you can see how you can be responsible in maintaining your list of keywords and UNSPSCs. Next slide, please. All right, so you got your business. You sell widgets. Part of the way that the state government knows to go to you for their widget needs is by searching for associated goods and services by keywords that you've got linked to your profile. And again, the best part is you pick your keywords. So this isn't based on some predetermined list that the state has. It's what you say that you do. And again, you can edit them at any time. Now, a lot of businesses make mistakes here. And if businesses make mistakes here, then they're not easily found by buyers. So let's talk about tips and tricks that will help you represent your business with keywords. All right, next slide, please. So first and foremost, you're going to want to use individual words, not sentences. So I always say, instead of I sell ballpoint pens, you would say ballpoint pens. Again, any individual words can be keywords. So also, you're going to want to use singular and plural versions of offerings for keywords. So ballpoint pen, ballpoint pens. You can use common words and technical jargon. So for instance, you can say ballpoint pens, or you could say Bic number 5, ballpoint pens, black ink, things along those lines. You can use broad words. You can use specific words. You can use brand names. I know up here we've got the example for synonyms, but yeah, you definitely want to use synonyms in there, right? So you want to use, like, if you were providing garbage services, you can use garbage, trash, waste, etc. I've seen multi-keywords used as well too. So information technology and IT, or public relations and PR, right? And this is the biggest one, folks. So if I could foot stomp anything out of this, this isn't a high school math quiz where answers should be siloed and kept to yourself. If someone out there has done the work and you know you provide the same things, use their work to make you competitive. Copy keywords from competitors. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about something different. UNSPSCs next. Perfect. You see, you're already out of it. I love it. Okay, so think about that Google example that I provided you a little while back, right? When you search for something on Google, do you think it's verbatim what you searched for, only those exact words, or is it a bunch of numbers behind the scenes? And I know that's kind of a rhetorical question. It's numbers. I want you to think of UNSPSC codes like the numbers behind the scenes for those searching in Cali Procure. And as I mentioned before, UNSPSC stands for United Nations Standard Products and Services Code. It's an 8-digit number and a written description. It identifies a good or a service, but not an industry. All right, let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide for an example. There we go. So each code with UNSPSC is part of a hierarchy with 4 levels. It's determined by 2, 4, 6, or 8 digits with the remaining digits as zeros. So the goods or services identified by the code become more specific in the lower levels of the hierarchy. So understanding that hierarchy, right, it empowers a business to find relevant and related codes. If a business finds this level 4 code, they can understand how that hierarchy works, and they can figure out that they should look at the level 3 code or the level 2 code or any other codes that fall within it, right? Now, there is a great website which reviews this information and covers even more. So when you have a chance, please check out the websites that are going to be dropped into the chat. They're out there for the DGS page. It's one of those things that they are really helpful, and they have a ton of info. So I know Amanda is working that right now, and I know she's pulling double duties, pushing slides as well too. So thank you. You're the MVP, I'm saying. All right, let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. Now, there are a couple of types of profiles that businesses interact and maintain when working in Cali Procure. Bidder profiles and certification profiles are what I'm talking about here. UNSPSCs are a part of where this comes into play. So regarding UNSPSCs, you've got your bidder profile, where your UNSPSC information isn't publicly displayed. Think of this like information for you, because the codes that you list here results in Cali Procure system-generated notifications for solicitations. And also remember that the codes that you list here may be aspirational goods and services. You can use this like market research. Maybe you sell pens, but you're not sure if the state buys a related product like whiteboard markers. When you put in the code, you can see if there are notifications. And if there are, it means the state has an interest in that product. You can also use this in conjunction with geographical areas. Maybe you sell in Sacramento, maybe you sell in Los Angeles, but if you want to see, hey, is there an interest in Fresno? Your bidder profile is your key to success with this. Now, you've also got your certification profile, and I want you to think about this like the information for those that you work with. It's publicly displayed. Buyers throughout the state can see this, as can anyone who visits Cali Procure. And I want you to think about it. If buyers can see it, buyers are going to use it to find businesses to solicit bids. So remember, if buyers are using this like Google, your information must be accurate to what your business currently does. So for your certification profile, this should not be aspirational. All right, let's go ahead and pop it over to the next slide. All right. I know we're going to talk more about what goes into your certification profile, and I want you to dive into that in future webinars too. But for now, regarding UNSPSCs, I want you to remember, you should definitely search in Cali Procure. There's a quad button that says Get Certified. It's like at the bottom of the main page, which covers UNSPSCs and gives the link to DGS's UNSPSC site, which brings me to my second point. For UNSPSCs, definitely search on DGS's website. And again, I know that is actually already in the chat, which thank you so much. This gives you access to custom UNSPSC search dashboards and better information, things that are more commonly used by the state. Of course, you're going to want to find codes throughout that hierarchy from that slide that we had back there. You're going to want to use them both up and down in complexity. And again, that same like really impactful advice for keywords goes for UNSPSCs as well too. Copy codes from competitors. Not a high school math quiz where like the answer should only be kept to yourself. If someone's done the work and you know you provide the same things, again, use their work to make you competitive. All right, with that said, I think we're going to bounce to our first Q&A section. Amanda, thank you again. You're the real MVP. I know you're probably answering questions behind that. You're moving slides and you're putting stuff into the chat. So All I'm saying is, man, you're awesome. Thank you. Is there anything that's come up in Q&A?
It doesn't look like anything's come up quite yet, but this is a great time to remind folks, as you have questions, please do enter them into the Q&A. I know there's going to be quite a few more, and this is a fantastic time to get your questions answered. But I will say, Joshua, you're explaining everything very well, very straightforward. So it does make sense why everybody's just getting it. It's clicking.
It is one of those things where, yeah, we try and break it down as much as possible. But there are times where people have questions that come up, like, let's say after this presentation, like 2 days later at 2 o'clock in the morning, they pop out of bed and they think of something, right? Again, it's okay if you've got other questions. Just please keep in mind, reach out to us. We're here to provide answers, whether it's today or whether it's any other day out there too. So with that said, let's go ahead and bump it over to the next slide. We've had a chance to cover the concepts of keywords and UNSPSCs. But now we're going to spend a little time talking about the actual aspects of updating them in CaliProcure. So, of course, the first step is visiting the CaliProcure site that's listed right there. And I know that it's also in one of the things that we'll drop into the chat, but there we go. You see, look at that. Oh my goodness, MVP right there. All right, but with that said, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. These we're gonna kind of breeze through because this is really going to show you like what you'll see on the website, right? The page is going to look exactly like this. And of course, with our handy red arrow and box, you'll know exactly where to go to log into your profile. So of course, you'll click that. And next slide, please. All right. Now, when your profile comes up, you're going to want to click on Manage Notification Profile, that tile. And again, it's outlined by that handy dandy red arrow and rectangle. Now, remember, this uses the information and codes that you input for system-generated notifications for solicitations. So definitely keep that in mind. Next slide, please. Also, this is a pro tip. I highly advise selecting yes to the question asking if you would like to receive SB and DVBE subcontracting notifications. There are a lot of opportunities out there, right? Especially in subcontracting. So you want to make sure that you're in the loop with notifications. If you're just starting out, you're going to want as much information about opportunities as possible. And this can be used for those who are looking, again, at aspirational opportunities as well. So you can see all those things that are out there and you can get them directly to you. So really important. All right, go ahead. Next slide, please. Fantastic. The same concept goes for CSCR bidding opportunity notifications. I am a firm believer that you should put as many contracting opportunities in front of you as possible. And this does that. So make sure you select yes to receive CSCR bidding opportunity notifications. On the left, you can add the email addresses that you want notifications to go to. Word to the wise, there's no limit on the number of emails that you can list. But as a pro tip, I would make sure that the email listed is one that can be commonly accessed. So if you've got a personal email of someone set to receive notifications and they leave your company, right? Suddenly you're not seeing notifications anymore. You want to avoid that if you can. On the right, you can add the service areas that you want to receive notifications about. And I also want to note there is a very helpful button that says, for services statewide, click here. Now, this is important because some of the businesses that are out there, they do work statewide. And if that's you, that's awesome. But as an example, maybe you only serve Southern California and you're not interested in opportunities in the Bay Area, or Central California is where you can fulfill contracts. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, this is where you define scope. So it's really important to make sure that that's accurate. Let's go ahead and pop it over to the next slide. Of course, here's where you can search for UNSPSCs. We recommend by searching by UNSPSC description. It performs a search which may generate results or contain codes that are relevant, but ones you might not have thought of when you were working with one parent code or one type of hierarchy. Our best advice here, type in the words that match the products and services that you sell and list as many relevant codes as possible. So remember, for this part of your profile, these search descriptions, they can also be aspirational as well. So maybe you sell pens, but you're looking into selling whiteboard markers. There you go. It's what you want notifications on. All right, next slide. All right, here's a great example, right? So we searched with the word paper, and you can see the relevant codes listed here. But another thing to note, this is a great example of the hierarchy. In the rectangle, you'll notice that the top code for paper products has 4 zeros at the end. The one below it gets a little bit more complicated by matching the first 4 digits, and then it adds 2 more, but the last 2 digits are zeros. Even the last one has 01. So you'll see it goes from paper products to a subcategory of business use printing and writing paper to a subcategory of onion skin paper, which, I mean, I'll be honest, I've heard of it used once in like one presentation in San Diego, but you can see there's a very specific code associated with it. So these things can get like really, really focused. So after you reviewed all of your search results, you're going to want to check the box of the codes that you want to add. We're not going to select the onion skin paper for now. So you can see there's no blue check mark associated with its selection, but go ahead and scroll down and click the add button. And I'll say it's not quite in the screenshot, but I promise you it is there. And slide, please. Perfect. There you go. Boom. The codes are going to appear on the right. Now, you can always delete codes that you don't want. And please don't forget that before you leave, you should save your preferences. Otherwise, you got to go back and you got to do all this again. And nobody wants that, you know? All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and bust out our second Q&A segment. I know that we are covering a lot, and I know it's a lot for businesses to process. So if you are taking time to formulate questions, completely understand. Amanda, how are we looking?
We're still empty on questions, so folks, make sure that you're entering those in. Though I did have a question for you.
I'll take questions. What you got?
When you're looking at these profiles, because I'm sure you work with a lot of businesses on these profiles, what would you say is the like biggest thing that they can do to really improve their profile?
So I have come across a lot of businesses that are looking to be competitive when doing business with the state of California. But when you go into their profiles, you'll see there's maybe 1 or 2 keywords. There's 1 or 2 UNSPSC codes listed, right? And that's the thing where I'm going, okay, if I'm searching for you, I have to hit that needle in the haystack in order to like see your business and figure out how it could work with the state of California. I know we've got a slide coming up for one-on-one consultations, but the biggest thing that I would recommend, especially when dealing with things like that, is to set up a one-on-one consultation with us and then talk about what other profiles are out there, how you can look at them, how you can see what they do, and then to pull that information into your profile so that you present, you pretty much put your best foot forward. And we're here to help you do that. So if there's anything that you guys are thinking about with this stuff and you're like, okay, well, how do I find it? That's cool. We'll sit down with you one-on-one with a computer. We'll do sharing of screens and we'll talk with you on it. So Amanda, does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I know I'm talking to multiple screens here, but yeah.
Yeah, that does. That's great to know. And like, it sounds like the thesaurus may be a really good resource for these keywords.
It is. It very
Yeah.
much is. It's one of those things of, and here's the thing, right? So we are one organization that helps out with that, but we're not the only organization that helps out with that too. I'm sure, Amanda, your organization has probably dealt with a lot of these things too. So I always like to think of it as like cookies, right? You should go and you should find all the places that provide support resources and treat them like cookies. You know, you take a bite out of every single one, and the one that like works out the best, you go with and you try and get more information from them and you go forward there. So anyway, with that said, I'm not seeing any other questions on there. Are we good to keep it going?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So right now we've talked a little bit about your bidder profile and how you can use information to system generate notifications for solicitations. But I want to get more into your certification profile, right? Now, remember, this is information that is geared more towards those that you work with, like visitors and buyers within Cali Procure. They're searching for publicly displayed information. Now, remember, this information must be accurate and not aspirational. So again, if you're looking at pens and you're possibly looking at selling whiteboards, you only want to list pens right here, right? So also, this isn't just a one-time update. So if you've got times that you want to update your information, say with service areas or outward-facing keywords and UNSPSCs, this is your jam, right? So first, we're going to go back to the Work Center and click Manage Certification in one of those 2 spots outlined by those red rectangles. Next slide, please. All right. And then you're going to want to click on Amend Application. I do want to settle some anxiety that may come with seeing that button. This doesn't mean you're reapplying for certification. We're just using this to get to slide, please. All right, your certification application. Now, we need to navigate to where we manage the keywords and codes, which is the other tab up there that you'll see. And unfortunately, we can't just click and jump to that section. So slide, please. We're going to need to scroll down and click Save and Continue until we get to the other section. I'm going to be real here. I know this is annoying, but remember when I said that often our most impactful advice is to keep your profile active and updated? This is a great opportunity to check over that information. But today we're focusing on getting to the other tabs. So next slide, please. See, look at, oh man, MVP, I'm saying. All right. So once you're finally there, once you get to it, you've got some really cool things that you can do. On the left side, you can review the service areas your business, again, actually serves. You want to make sure that this is accurate. And if you've already selected service areas from your bidder registration, you can transfer them, but you should be careful. Because if you didn't select anything in your bidder registration, it's going to add statewide areas, which might not be what you can cover. Again, if you're in Northern California, it's going to say like, hey, do you want to take on stuff in like Southern California, things like that. If you're in that situation, we would recommend clicking no and selecting the service areas by hand. Now on the right, that's where you manage keywords. You can enter your keywords here one at a time. You can see how we've done that. Remember our tips and recommendations, but this is where you want to put as many as are applicably possible. So click the plus to add more rows and the red X's to delete keywords. Next slide, please. All right. And again, if you've entered UNSPSCs in your bidder profile, you can transfer them here. But again, I recommend at the very least double checking them, because if you want to transfer them over, all of them will come over, including those aspirational ones, right? You want these to be spot on the mark for what you provide. Now, for what I really recommend, I would scroll down to the section on UNSPSCs. Here you can add and delete them, but it gives you that little bit of extra oversight. So you would click Add UNSPSC Classification, and boom, it lets you search, it lets you confirm. All right, let's go ahead and hit the next slide. Yeah, so when you do that, again, this is going to look pretty familiar. We're searching by description in the same way that we did in the registration section. So again, for this example, we searched for paper. We selected 2 UNSPSC codes to add. I'm sorry, onion paper just did not make the cut again. But let's go ahead and pop it to that next slide. And here, of course, you'll scroll down to the bottom. You'll see the save button right there, which is fantastic. And after that, next slide, those codes will appear on your list, as you can see there. Now, remember, you can always click that red X to delete a code, and that way you're getting exactly the codes that you want. All right. Now let's pop over to a different, see, look, MVP, to close out on a high note on information that you can voluntarily put into your profile. In 2022, the Department of General Services began collecting voluntary diversity data on information from certified businesses, currently registered businesses, and new businesses within their CaliProcure profile. Now, collecting voluntary diversity data is part of California's commitment to support diversity, equity, and inclusion in state procurement. Now, we recommend that all businesses, when registering with the state, complete the diversity data. The diversity data enables the evaluation of the effectiveness of the state's existing outreach programs, and it provides a better understanding of where targeted outreach efforts need to be established. The goal is to ensure that California's supplier base is reflective of our diverse state. And we're California, we're a diverse state here, you know? So the information is voluntary. You can change and remove the data at any time directly in your profile in CaliProcure. The information does not grant a contracting preference, and it doesn't affect your contracting efforts or opportunities. So the information is displayed on your certification profile if you get certified, and more information can be found in the link in the chat there. So we definitely encourage you to check that out. All right, for the next slide, you're going to see the work center and where you would go specifically to manage diversity information. You can see that red rectangle right there. And slide, please. You can kind of see what will come up when you click that too. So you can see it's fairly simple. It's straightforward. You can enter, you can update, and once you click those in, boom, your information is there. So really, really important. All right, let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to take on a common situation. So for a lot of our folks out there, let's say an entrepreneur started a business. So you're probably in these shoes from time to time. And even better for us, for this example, let's say that entrepreneur wants to sell mostly to the California state government. Thank you. But what do they do for market research? How do they know what goods and services that we want to buy? what contracting opportunities are out there and where do they look for that information? So contracting opportunities or solicitations are found on the California State Contracts Register, CSCR, and that can be accessed on CaliProcure. It's public-facing information, which encourages competition, and it's where you can post advertisements as a sub looking for a prime or a prime looking for a sub. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a deeper look into that. All right, so first they would need to log into their account. And do you absolutely need to log into your account to search CSCR? I know you're probably seeing it right there on the slide, right? The search bar right there. The answer, of course, is no. But you gain additional functionality if you're logged into your profile when searching in CSCR. So that's what we recommend. If we pop over to the next slide, please. Now, right up there in big bold letters, of course, is the California State Contracts Register and search bid opportunities. Of course, you would click Start Search. Slide, please. And boom, you got your primary search fields. Now, you can search for specific event names or IDs. You can search by department, which can be helpful if you've got products which tie to a certain department. But here's the kicker. These are just the main fields for searching. To narrow down scope even further, you can click on Advanced Search Criteria. And when you do, slide, perfect, awesome. It gives you the opportunity to narrow your search even further by dates, specific UNSPSC codes, service areas, contractor license types, any combination that you can think of. It really gives you the power to find what the needs of the state really are and what clicks with your business. So once information fields are entered and the search is executed, next slide, please, a list of search results comes up like this, right? Now, this is an example of solicitations being advertised. And I really encourage you to get into CaliProcure and do some digging because this is incredibly valuable information. It's one important part of market research. But let's say we clicked on one of those lines for an event. Slide. Oopsie, look at that. All right. So this is an example of what you're going to see. Now, I know most of the event details are self-explanatory, but I want to foot stomp the event end date because that's when all responses for this event must be received. If you're over by a second, you're not going to be considered. So please be sure to be timely with that info. You also want to note, of course, you've got UNSPSC codes listed, contractor license types, service areas, all that information that can be narrowed down in advanced search criteria back when you're searching for events. You can see something called a pre-bid conference, which for this event, it's not mandatory, but for other events, it might be required for consideration for the solicitation. So you want to keep an eye on that. There's also a point of contact who's listed, who's the contract administrator. Now, this isn't the person who you would market to. It's just an expert on what's required and the specific needs for the solicitation. And here's the kicker. I saved the best for last, right? There are 3 other really cool pieces of information on this sheet, and they're the 3 blue buttons on the top right of the page. The first one I'm going to talk about is the View Event package. So the top button has all sorts of helpful documents like a statement of work, bid submission instructions, requirements and expectations. Oftentimes there's a checklist to ensure that nothing is forgotten for those seeking to fulfill a solicitation, right? View Vendor Ads, which is the bottom button on the upper right corner, shows where primes and subs post their needs, right? So as an example, maybe there's a prime contractor out there who does everything but dealing with like rocket engines or something, right? And they need someone who does really specific work with that. And their office just can't do that. That's the start of where you're going to find that information. Again, maybe you're a prime looking for a sub, maybe you're a sub looking for a prime. Either way, this is a great resource to bring people together to fulfill the needs for that department. And you might be thinking, I want to post one of these ads, which brings us to our final button, the one in the middle. Clicking on Post Vendor Ads allows you to post an advertisement like we just talked about. And let's deep dive into that a little further. There we go. Here's where you would make your advertisement, right? You would enter your name, your email, your phone number, the title of your company, applicable deadlines for anyone that's interested. You would select, of course, if you are a prime seeking a sub or a sub seeking a prime, and then you would enter your advertisement in the description box. Now, all you have is this text box, so you want to make it count. And that text box, that's limited to 2,000 characters. So again, we recommend that you put your certification ID number on there so any interested businesses can easily find you. Again, think of this as the place to show that you know what this particular organization needs. You have the skills and experience to pull off that job. This is where you make your case. All right, with that said, I think we're going to open it up to another Q&A segment, but I think folks are probably just taking a lot of really good notes and working through and probably trying to tie this to the specific needs of their business. Amanda, are you seeing anything out there I'm not?
I'm not seeing anything right now.
No, it's okay. Honestly, this is a lot of really detailed information, so I understand folks are probably trying to associate like the specific needs they have with their business to the specific tools that we're talking about here. Again, please reach out if you are looking for more information. But with that said, I'm going to keep it going because I think we're on a roll here. So let's rock and roll, you know? Okay, so if we go, yep, there we go. Remember when I said that solicitations, oh wait, hold on a second. Oh, I just saw one in the Q&A. Amanda, I see you nodding and smiling there too.
Yes, I see it too.
All right, so Nathaniel is asking, I've posted ads, but I haven't received a response. Is there something else I can do to be more proactive? Can I find a list of companies to reach out to? Nathaniel, that's a great question. One of the things that I would recommend, because we're about to talk about this, and I know you kind of are getting the sneak preview in the slide that's up right now. We can talk about previous solicitations that have been fulfilled, right? And you can go through and you can see how they've been fulfilled, and you can contact, sorry, excuse me, a department advocate on that to see if there are patterns, and like folks that have worked on that stuff too, they'll have more information on that. That information is coming up in slides, but I would recommend reaching out to them and to start that conversation to be like, hey, I see that you guys are looking to fulfill this type of solicitation maybe once every 3 months or once every year or something to that something along those lines, right? And then I would say, talk to me about how that's fulfilled. Talk to me about who's fulfilling it. And then is there a way that I can position my business in there? So that way you might get points of contact that you might not have been able to see in the information that's listed, right? That would be my best piece of information for something like that. But Nathaniel, great question. I really do appreciate it. And honestly, you provided the perfect segue to the next set of slides, right? So, all right. So I know that we talked about, again, solicitations that are currently out there, but this is what I consider the holy grail of market research. And that is the state contracts and procurement registration system, which we affectionately call skippers. So if we bump it over to the next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So skippers, simply put, is that database of past purchases. It includes state and non-state dollars. It's public facing. It's found on the Cali Procure site, and it's used so that you can find patterns in what departments and organizations are buying. You can see when they're buying it. You can see the acquisition types the department or office uses. And it's one tool that can be used to estimate what services a department may require in the future. You can also use this to see who won those contracts and even pull relevant information like applicable keywords and UNSPSCs. So let's hit it with that next slide. So I'm going to show you where to find it. Of course, there's a couple ways to find it, but the one with the most helpful information is going to be found in those quad buttons below that you see right there. First, you're going to go to Find Public Procurement Information, and once you click that, there you go. You're going to see that link for skippers, again outlined by our handy red rectangle and red arrow. And when you click that link, boom, there we go. It's going to look something like this. So we did a generic search on construction for the description type. Big thing to note here, you might have specific questions regarding why did we want to purchase item X instead of item Y. These are questions for the awarding departments, right? They don't fall necessarily within the scope of our office. We deal with a lot of those offices, but we don't determine what they buy, right? We want to be clear on what we can help you with. But in terms of how up to date that information, I'll say that that information is batched and added quarterly. Now you can view this information directly from this page, or you can download search results from the buttons directly below the search parameters. As a person who's done that, I can say the downloads, they take a lot of time because you're getting a lot of data. But it does allow you to do more with the data if you're a pro in Excel. So just kind of mind the trade-off there. As an example of the data you can get on my last search, I've seen purchase documents that go all the way back to 2015. So again, a lot of data there. You find item descriptions, UNSPSCs, let's see, unit prices, all sorts of stuff, right? So definitely something to keep in mind. You can also see department names are listed here. There are purchase documents that can be clicked on. You can see descriptions, start and end dates, grand totals, all of this stuff. Great information to pull for your profile. Again, think of UNSPSC codes and keywords. I'm going to foot stomp and hint on that. So, all right, let's go ahead and pop it over to the next slide. There is a little more information listed here if you were to scroll over, like if we're looking at like like something you'd see on your monitor. You can note that certifications for suppliers are listed, as well as the acquisition type. Now, remember, certifications give you access to solicitations that non-certified firms won't have access to. So as an example, if you look at the third row down, you'll note that the acquisition method, that's the SB option, which again is used to give advantages to certified small businesses. I know that we're dealing with our Veterans Week out here, so there's also a DVBE option out there. There's a lot of different acquisition methods. So if you got questions about acquisition methods, please reach out to that email we've got in the chat, businessoutreach@dgs.ca.gov. If you've got questions about a department and if they're going to keep using a specific acquisition method, you can also reach out to their advocate, which we'll cover ahead of time in 2 slides. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We're going to open it up one more time for Q&A. With that said, I know we just covered the holy grail of market research. I do hope there are some questions out there. Even if you don't have them right now, seriously, contact us because we can talk about like things that you can find in the details of that information.
Yeah. And that might be why we're getting very minimal questions, because folks do know that they're going to be getting these slides as well as the recording to review a bit later. So they'll be able to digest what they're hearing today, go back and review it and really formulate those questions. Because I'm always considering, like, you really don't know what you don't know until you have to put it into work.
Yep. No, I love it because I'm seeing like, okay, there are businesses out there that deal with building rockets, aerial photography. We're dealing, I believe, with like, let's see, insurance services out there too, commercial property. And again, all of these things have all different subsets of data. So again, you're trying to work it to what is specific with yours. Oh, I see a question in the chat too. Does California prioritize minority groups? So that is actually a fantastic question. The state of California, at least DGS, deals in 3 primary certifications. We deal in small business for the purpose of public works, and the disabled veteran business enterprise certification. And those certifications are how we prioritize those subsets of groups. Now, you may see other certifications out there that are based off of maybe veterans groups without the disability factor, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. Those might be held by the federal government, by city and local governments, by private institutions, maybe by even reciprocity partners. But for right now, the state of California only deals with those 3 certifications. But it is really, really cool to see how those certifications are very encompassing and how they can work for you. So John, if you got more questions on that, please reach out. I definitely got your back. We can definitely talk more on that too. All right, I'm gonna keep it open for maybe about 10 more seconds on Q&As just so I can grab a sip of a beverage so that I can clear my throat. But if anybody else has anything.
Absolutely. And I will make sure that all of these links we've been dropping in chat, as well as Joshua's contact information, are sent out along with the recording and slides. So as those questions do come up in your review, you can go ahead and reach out to Joshua and DGS for that assistance.
Yeah. Now, I will say we're coming into the tail end. I'm definitely cognizant of time, but thank you so much for hanging on with us. I'm going to try and power through so we get all this information to you.
Of course.
With that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next section. I know earlier presentations in this series, they do mention that every state department in California is mandated by law to do 25% of its business with certified small businesses. And there's a statewide goal of 3% of contracting dollars going to DVBEs. Advocates are the folks that make it happen. Any agency or department that procures at least $100,000 per year, they need to have a small business and a disabled veteran business enterprise advocate. These advocates, they work for the state. They're often in purchasing and procurement. They're often in a manager or analyst role. In their position, they have a lot of responsibilities, including but not limited to... hold on, next slide. Sorry, I know you're dropping stuff in the chat too. Awesome. Helping small businesses and DVBEs pursue contracting opportunities with the department that they work for. Back for that question in terms of talking about what's being sent out to subcontractors as well too. These are the folks you want to talk to. Maybe they have information on that. Maybe they got people that you can reach out to, right? Remember when I spoke on contract administrators being experts on individual contracts? These folks are why you don't market directly to those administrators, right? You should focus your attention on advocates because they work closely with the buyers and their department to include small businesses and DVBEs in state procurement. They assist businesses in prompt payment. Last year, thanks to Assembly Bill 1574, departments are required to seek out new businesses that they haven't done business with for contracting opportunities. Each department has different ways that they do this. So if you've got questions, I highly encourage you to reach out and to establish that relationship. Now, before we talk about where we find these advocates, I really want to emphasize some information that'll be helpful to them. So next slide, please. I know this is probably simplistic for a lot of you, but the information above really does help advocates. There's, I think Governor Newsom mentioned, I think it's 4.2 million small businesses out there right now in California, and there's only a handful of advocates per department. So having your contact information, your certification number, a description of what you do, and your capability statement really makes a difference in getting effective and actionable communication from a department advocate. These folks get a lot of messages daily, so it's important to craft your message around the specific advocate and not like mass email them. We go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to insert another poll out there too, and I know Amanda has been on top of it because we're at slide 53. So, and that is, have you reached out to a support partner out there? If you don't have a capability statement, I recommend you partnering up with a support organization, such as an APEX Accelerator, maybe an SBDC. VBOC, oh my goodness, they do amazing work, right? And that helps you hone your presentation on what your business can do, your clients, your business why, like why should the state of California choose you? So I know this poll is probably going to be a very, very quick poll. But if you have not partnered up, for those of you in the no category, guess what? You've got homework now. It's really one of those things you definitely want to check out. So how is that poll looking, Amanda?
We're looking about 50-50 yet again.
Love it. Okay, because this means that we're getting a very like broad like audience here, and we're able to hit a lot of nails on the head right here in terms of providing like services and information and advice here. So thank you so much. All right, so let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. We've talked about the basics of what to include. Let's start talking about that initial conversation and establishing that relationship between you and that advocate. One of the biggest things that's asked to advocates is if they have a current or upcoming contract opportunity. Often advocates have this information teed up and ready to go, but it does vary from office to office. You can also ask to be included in relevant solicitations. There may be some things that a department or office has that's coming up that you might not have thought of, and that's a really great way that you can help each other. And last but not least, you can ask about commonly purchased goods and services, but I would advise do a preliminary search on Skippers before this point, so you have a general idea on what that department relies upon. All right, let's talk about the advocate directory on the next. There we go. Awesome. So again, Cali Procure, you see the quad buttons below. Gotta love a pattern right there. Again, you're going to want to click on Find Training and Resources, and when you do, perfect. There you go. You're going to see Contact a Small Business and DVBE Advocate. That's your one-stop shop. It's going to bring you to a DGS page for the advocate directory, and then you'll click that link to download the directory. When you do, it's going to look a little bit like this. And some even better news, this is going to be revamped in the near future as well for faster updates on advocate information. Be on the lookout on communication from OSDS for this. There's a few interesting points I do want to point out. You'll notice some of them have two advocates out here, some departments. It's because their department is that big. They do a lot of spending. They want to make sure that they're complying with the law and spending in the most efficient way possible. These highlighted departments out here, they utilize an SB and DVBE first policy. So that means if at all possible, they're going to work with them first. Again, one of the many benefits of being registered. And last but not least, if you are looking for big projects like construction, don't forget to take a look at column C, because of course, selling pens is different than providing services for building buildings or paving roads, right? So I know it's a lot to absorb. If you've got questions outside of the presentation, please reach out and ask. That said, we're at the home stretch, and I understand we're running on time, but anybody have any Q&A out there? Good. I'm going to keep it going because, yeah, I know, like I said, very cognizant of time here. All right, home stretch here. So let's take a moment. Let's talk about reciprocity partners. They are cities, counties, utilities, agencies, special districts that honor our certifications for small business or for DVBE certifications. They use them as acceptance into their individual business enterprise programs. Last count, I want to say we had about 42 throughout the state. You can think of things like PG&E out there. They'll consider you certified even if you don't go through specific certification steps with them because they recognize our certifications. It's one less hoop to jump through when fulfilling contracting opportunities. I do want to be clear, they also have procurement requirements that are unique to their organization. So you want to be sure to reach out to applicable points of contact with them for more details on what you'll need to do business with them. Many have local vendor systems where you can reach out and receive notifications about solicitations. They're not necessarily associated with CaliProcure. Our website does have those listed out there for partners and links. So please take a moment, check it out. You'll see it in the chat right there. That's fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the SB and DVBE emergency registry. I want to talk about a different type of solicitation category here. We talked about everything from public works projects, again, to buying pens and paper for offices, most everything in between. But for right now, an extremely important part of state contracting is doing business in terms of contracting for emergencies with the state. Now, California, we're no stranger to emergencies. We've got wildfires, earthquakes, tropical storms, but it's not just that. Events like a water line bursting in a state hospital can be considered an emergency too. And this is how we contribute to responses. The emergency registry, it's a dedicated portal for California certified businesses to register as a supplier of emergency goods and services. It's separate from CaliProcure, although you can find information about it in CaliProcure. It's used by State Department buyers, and unlike CaliProcure, this portal only includes businesses that provide goods and services from predetermined emergency categories. We'll go over those in the next slide. But department buyers can access and search this pool of suppliers, and those suppliers, they need to be ready at a moment's notice. So I want you to think about this for a moment. This is used in incredibly difficult situations and incredibly hard times. If you had a son or a daughter who was a firefighter and the state needed to fulfill a contract for fire hoses, would you want the best resources and the fastest turnaround time for them? Of course you would, right? This is a self-selection process, but you should be asking the hard questions on if you're willing and able to fulfill these types of requirements and needs. So please frame your perspective about this registry around examples like that. Let's go ahead and pop over to the next slide. These are the categories that you can see. I'm not going to take the time to read them because, of course, they're fairly self-explanatory. But I do want you to be cognizant of the theme of providing critical resources in difficult times. So as a reminder, businesses must select at least one category when registering. So please keep that in mind. If you think you're ready for this, go ahead and hit that next slide. This is the basic information that businesses need to register. You're going to need a certification number. You're going to need the categories you want to work in. Again, you need to be able to select at least one. You're going to need the description of the products and services that you provide, the address of your business, and this is the most important one. You're going to need contact information for both your primary, your 9 to 5, and your emergency hours, because emergencies happen 24/7 throughout the state of California. All right, next slide. For more information on the registry, you're going to go, of course, CaliProcure. You got to love a pattern. And then next slide, once you click on Sell to the State, it's going to bring you here where you can find the emergency registry information. This link takes you to a DGS page where you'll learn all about the registry. And also the helpful pinned message in the chat has that linked as well. Don't worry, you're on the right track. We're hitting that last section here. So let's go ahead and go into CUF, right? So this in the next slide cover the commercially useful function aspect, otherwise known as CUF. And you're probably asking yourself, how do you know that you're providing a commercially useful function when working with the state of California? It's determined by buyers and contract administrators. There are points to help ensure that you're on the right track, right? So if you're performing a distinct element of the work, if you're performing, managing, or supervising, if you're performing work that's normal for the firm's business services and functions, if you're negotiating price, determining quality and quantity, ordering, installing, making payments, and if you're not subcontracting a portion of the work that's greater than expected by industry practices, you are most likely providing CUF. Now, this applies to all small businesses and DVBEs bidding and participating in the contract, both originally listed and any that sub in during the contracting term. It's really important to note that CUF is required regardless of procurement approach or payment method used. And if someone's trying to bypass CUF, it stops the playing field from being level. And we take that seriously. So the system works for all Californians, right? So let's talk about some situations that we need to avoid. Next slide, please. Awesome. So please remember, your business doesn't perform CUF if you are being used as an extra participant in a transaction, in a contract or a project, which funds are passed in order to obtain that like appearance of SB and DVBE participation, right? If you're not being used to perform work as stipulated in the bid, you're probably not providing CUF. And if you're no longer used to provide goods or services listed in the initial bid response, you're probably having issues providing CUF. But at the end of the day, if you feel like there's not a commercially useful function being provided, contact us so that we can ensure the right people are getting the right contracting dollars. The system doesn't work unless we all use it fairly. All right. So before we get to our review, I want to mention some other tools out there that can help companies prepare for doing business with the state of California. Check out our hosts. So Apex Accelerators out there, like Norcal, who's putting on this right now. They provide so many resources which assist established businesses with government contracting. Of course, we got SBDCs out there, which are fantastic resources for new businesses. There's VBOX, Norcal VBOC out there. They've got great and amazing resources for veterans and transitioning service members. I've worked with them personally. I absolutely love them. Of course, there's SCORE out there, which provides, which I think stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. Lots of mentorship out there for that. Now, there are limits of what we can do when working as a government entity. So we can't help business prepare for a bid for a solicitation because it would be unfair to all the rest of the other businesses. But these organizations out here, they might be able to help provide resources, and they help us keep fair practices. So we're incredibly grateful. All right, next slide. So in review, we've talked about Cali Procure profiles, keywords and UNSPSCs, gone over contracting opportunities. We've shown market research tools like CSCR and Skippers. We've talked about advocates and how you can start that relationship, reciprocity partners and the advantages they provide, emergency contracting, and CUF. Next slide, please. This is that last Q&A segment. So this is, like leave it all on the table here. I see one in the chat. Amanda, are you tracking that one as well too?
Yep.
Okay. So do vets not pay state tax for goods but not services? That is an interesting question. I'm not quite sure what context you're referring to this. I would imagine that we still pay state taxes for goods and services. I don't know if you're talking about gaining resources with like partner organizations or things like that. Those are all no cost. That's your taxpayer dollars at work. But John, do me a favor, reach out one-on-one. I'll see if we can get a little bit of clarification on that. And I can provide you a little more information that will hopefully get you that answer. I do think that right now is showing the last question in the chat. So with that said, on our next slide is our LinkedIn profile. So please definitely follow us. It's a great way to find events both online and like local in person that we take part in. This next slide is probably the most important slide, and that is one-on-one consultations. This QR code is where it's at. The link is also in the chat right now. Again, Amanda, I'm telling you, you've been the MVP today. So again, with this QR code, we cover all these things: introductions to state contracting, registration and certification. For that 50% that haven't gotten registered yet, hit us up. We got you. For those of you who are in there, we can talk about your Cali Procure profiles, the other 50% on that side, right? And then again, we go over finding contracting opportunities. So I know that's a lot. I know there are two other slides, and the last one has my contact information. I will leave it open for Q&A for folks, but Amanda, I'm going to turn it right back over to you in case anything comes up. Thank you so much for hosting. Thank you so much for hanging on a little bit extra in terms of time to everybody out there. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. So, yeah.
Of course. And thank you so much for joining us, Joshua. It's been an absolute pleasure presenting with you and Paul. I just want to make folks in the audience aware that both Norcal VPOC and Norcal APEX Accelerator have webinars and training events going on through November and into the new year. So please do connect with our services. Make sure you're connected with all of these fantastic trainings, because we do them to help you. Even if you're not a client or can't fully connect with us, you can still take advantage of all of these amazing resources that we have. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for hanging on there a little bit past the hour. And for the folks who weren't able to, they will be getting a full recording, as well as the slide decks and all of those awesome links that we have, so they're not missing out on anything. But for the folks who are still with us, please, if you have a moment, you'll be redirected to our feedback survey. We highly value any feedback on our events because, again, we do these for you. So if we're really hitting the mark, let us know. And if you have any other topics or subjects that you would like us to discuss, let us know as well. And before we sign off, I'd like to thank our presenters again, Joshua, Paul. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today. It was a very dense presentation, but so much good information.
My pleasure.
Happy to.
All right. And with that, I hope everybody in the audience can get connected with these great resources. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.